Hey animators, BHGhost has been around for almost 4 years now, so I've added quite a few updates to it in that time, and they're kind of scattered throughout a few different videos. So I thought I'd bring everything together and just do one video that kind of gives you all of the current feature set. So let's start off with the basics. I can open the tool by just running the script from my shelf here, and you'll see it asks me to add some meshes, so I can select the character mesh and just hit add meshes. Or if I add, say, the whole character, it'll add a few other things there. I don't need that, so I can remove that. I don't need the eyes necessarily, so I can remove those. And then once I click on the meshes tab here, it closes up and it's kind of ready to use. One other little shortcut though, just it's handy to know, if you select a mesh before you run the script, it automatically opens up like that, so you can see the mesh has already been added there. So I find that's just a little bit of a quicker way to get access to it. One other thing is, often your character is unselectable, so you've got to make it selectable, just add it to the meshes list and then set it up, and that can be a little bit tedious, especially if you're working with a number of characters in the same scene. So one option that I find really handy that I use all the time is if you go to this little arrow here and go to tools and click on this create shelf button, and you'll see it's probably maybe off the screen here, but what that does is it creates a shelf button that loads the tool with this character already set up. So I can close this and load it again, and now it's already got that character in it, so I can have another character and I can add another shelf button and I can edit that and change the name of it and so on to make that like Stuart or whatever the name of the character is. So it's just a little bit of a quicker way to do it. So that's the basic functions. Then the GUI itself, the controls are fairly self-explanatory. If I ghost the mesh there, you'll see it's quite small with this character, so what I do is I use this slider to adjust the thickness. If you find you're using a really large character, you're working in a scene that's really big, you can go to the mode option here and select 10 by, and nothing happens until you use the slider again, but you'll notice now it's got a much bigger range. So on this character it's too much, but if your character is really big, you might find that useful. The other thing that's in here as well is the smooth option. If your character's been using viewport smoothing or using a subdiv proxy, you can enable that option and it'll actually smooth the ghosts as it creates them. It will make them considerably slower though, because obviously you're creating a more dense mesh that way. So I generally leave that off unless I need the extra fidelity. Another little feature that I added fairly recently is hide on playback. That works in Maya 2016 or newer. It basically uses the new feature that was added in 2016 that I use all the time for character controllers. If I show the controllers here, you'll notice as soon as I press play they hide. That's because I've added them to a layer here and I've turned this P, the playback attribute, off. So as soon as I scrub, that's an inbuilt Maya function, but I thought it'd be cool to leverage that for the ghosts. So if I ghost say here and here and here again, the scene will slow down a bit because I'm ghosting a fair bit of geometry there. What I can do is I can enable this hide on playback mode, which works, it just basically creates a layer. You can see this hide ghost layer. So now as soon as I scrub, they hide and I get nice fast scrubbing and nice fast playback, and then as soon as I press stop again they show up again. I can remove that, I'll switch that mode off. Where is it? Mode, hide and playback, and you'll see it deletes that layer again, and now they're there all the time. You can also manually toggle them off, on and off here with the visibility button. That's just if you want to keep the ghosts you've created but just hide them for a moment. You can also bust individual ghosts. So if I want to bust just this frame, I can just go to that frame and press bust 1. Again, I can bust this frame, bust 1, or I can bust all, which will get rid of all of them in the scene and remove any nodes. I usually recommend that you hit that before you do any saving, because otherwise you're going to be bloating your scene file a little bit with extra geo. The other thing that I find useful as well is if you select the controller, I'd say I've got keys on this. I don't have keys on every frame. I've got keys on 1, 3, 6, and 9. Say I want to ghost those. If I select that range with that controller selected and hit ghost now, it'll just ghost those keys. Whereas if I don't have any controller selected and I select, I'll just bust all again, if I select say a range, it'll ghost every frame. So that'll get pretty heavy with a character, but with bouncing balls and things like that, it can be really handy. The other thing you'll notice is that it gets a little bit tricky to see things when you've got a couple of ghosts very close together. It starts getting difficult to tell which one is which. So I've got color options for the main ghosts here that you can change those. I've also got a color B option here, and you can change that option using this drop down. And the The way to get those colors is to hold Alt while you hit Ghost, and now you'll see that that middle Ghost now is yellow, or if I just hit it normally it'll go back to green again. So I've got two different options there for colors, which can make things a bit more legible. Another feature is sometimes you don't want to ghost the whole character for reasons of clarity and for reasons of speed. So what I find is pretty handy sometimes. Go into face mode, for example, and I'm going to select just the foot polys. And I'm going to go to Create, Sets, Quick Select Set. I'm going to call this Ghost with a small g and Set, capital S. I just hit OK. And now once I've created that ghost set in there, the tool will automatically look for that as you run it. So now I get just that foot being ghosted. I find that's really useful sometimes when you're doing sort of more finesse stuff. And again, I can kind of go a little bit more nuts with that. I can add more ghosts that way with less slowdown. Another feature that's really handy sometimes is tracking. You say you want to track a particular feature, like say the nose. You often use things like Maya's inbuilt motion trails for this, but they can be quite slow sometimes. So what I find I'd like to do sometimes is say select maybe the head controller and go to Tools here, Create Tracker. And what that does, it's kind of hidden in there, but it selects it. And I'm going to grab it there. It creates a sphere, a low poly sphere, and you can grab that and scale it. Make it whatever shape you want. And now I've got basically, it's already added that as well to the meshes list. So if I ghost now, I'm ghosting that tracker, so I can ghost things like that. I can track the arc that nose is traveling through. And you can add as many of those as you like. Again, the more you add, the more things will slow down, but it can be handy for looking at spacing and that kind of stuff. And then you go back to Tools again here and Delete Tracker, and that'll get rid of that. One other function is Replace Mode, which I find I use quite a lot actually, particularly when I'm polishing. What I tend to do for that is I create one ghost and then remove it and then create another one, and basically this just automates that. So if you enable Replace Mode, I should mention as well, if I want to go back to ghosting the entire character, that set still exists in the scene. I just open the outliner and delete that set. Where is it? Ghost set. Just delete that. And now I'm back to ghosting the entire character. And basically what that means is each time I create a new ghost, if I enable that again, it'll replace all the other ones. So it just means you've only ever got one ghost active. I find that very useful for polishing sometimes, where you just want to see one ghost and compare the poses. Compare how the poses are flowing in and out of a particular one. Usually my key poses, I guess. So I think that's pretty much it. I think that's all of the functions, and I've tried to make this as quick as possible. If any of it's been a bit confusing, I would suggest going to my Vimeo page and looking at the individual videos, or going to my graphite9.com /Maya downloads page, and you'll see the Ghost tool there with a list of the updates that I've added, and there's links to individual videos on individual features. But that is a very quick run through of all the main features. Hope that helps. Cheers.